And hi, I'm Janette.
And today we are going to be ranking the ride queues in Animal Kingdom. So we've previously ranked the ride queues in Hollywood Studios. I think last time I said line queues by accident, but technically it's ride queues because line queues is just saying like line, you know, it's the same thing twice.
Yeah.
But we're ranking the ride queues. So the 12 queues we are going to be ranking are in alphabetical order: Avatar, Flight of Passage, Dinosaur, Expedition Everest, It's Tough to Be a Bug, Finding Nemo, The Big Blue and Beyond. This is not alphabetical order, sorry. I just realized that's out of order, but that's okay. Festival of the Lion King, Kali River Rapids, Kilimanjaro Safari, Nabi River Journey, Triceratops Spin, Winged Encounters, and the Wildlife Express Train. So we did the rides and the shows, and you will notice I did not do the meet and greets. We didn't do the meet and greets either for Hollywood Studios.
Oh, we don't do meet and greets.
Yeah, so we do not do meet and greets, so I truly have no idea what the meet and greet lines look like. I think, you know, it's like one day we could always rank those, so sorry if you're really into the meet and greets and we're not ranking those lines. I just genuinely have no idea, and it was hard to find photos for some of these line queues, or these ride queues, so I'm going to keep saying line queues by accident. So yeah, it's hard to find photos for some of those ride queues or the meet and greet queues, so yeah, but these are the 12 queues we are going to be ranking. So let's start with our number 12.
Oh, 12. Okay, we're going to start bottom. All right, mine's It's Tough to Be a Bug.
Oh, you put Stuff to Be a Bug?
Yeah,
Okay.
I don't like the whole feeling of it's tough to be a bug, and I don't like being underground. Like, but down there, you're supposed to be underground.
Yeah, it's underground. It's like you're under the tree of life. You're walking underneath the tree.
Right, it's not an actual line, and they kind of
put
put you in a big room. So I just don't like it.
That's okay.
So I put that number 12.
What you mean. Yeah, no, I definitely see what you mean. For my 12, I put Triceratops Spin, just because Triceratops Spin has that very classic type of line where you walk into the queue and you just kind of just go back and forth, and you're just right next to the ride for 30 minutes, 40 minutes, you know, very slowly moving. And I think that ride is hard in the sense, and I find a lot of those like kiddie rides to be difficult because you're watching the ride every single time, right? It's like you're standing in line watching the ride, so you know how long you're going to be on the ride, and you end up watching the ride like 10 times before you get on the ride yourself. Like, that's kind of wild if you think about it that mentally. So
it's true.
I rank that one low because of that, because I think it's just a weird concept when you're literally just watching the ride the entire time as you were also waiting for the ride. And that goes the same too with, you know, Dumbo, Aladdin's Magic Carpets. Again, all those rides are very similar in that sense, that they're some of my least favorite queues. When you just get online, you kind of weave in back and forth for a long time. You know when you're going to move, you know when you're not going to move. So it just takes forever, I feel like. So, all right, what's in your 11?
Well, that's why I put Triceratops Spin on that one. To me, that's a kiddie ride. It's, you know, I mean, it's outside. It's, you know, you stand in line, you get on the thing. It was like nothing special.
I guess too, we should say we also rank these according to like the ride queue, as well as like, is it worth it to go on the ride as well, like factoring in, you know, the ride too. So, but yeah, I Triceratops Spin is not a favorite ride of mine, so I would not rate on that queue to go on that ride.
I would never go on that. Okay.
In my 11, this is where I have the Wildlife Express Train. I rank this one really low because the line honestly isn't really that bad necessarily. It's kind of just because you get on the train pretty quickly, you know, it's like, so the line for it isn't usually actually too bad. You are waiting outside for it, and it's right by the Kilimanjaro Safari exit. But I actually didn't think the queue was terrible, but I just ranked it lowly because it doesn't really, I feel like it's not even like anything, you know, you kind of just get on the train and then you go to, you know, conservation station type of thing. So it's nothing too crazy. It's not terrible. It's not like the best thing in the world either. It's almost like a nothing type of queue. So I just kind of put it at the bottom. All right, what's in your number 10?
Festival of the Lion King queue. I mean, it's kind of boring. It's kind of out of the way.
Yeah.
It's kind of tucked away. By the time you realize where the entrance is, it's funny to get onto. So it's not like even like interesting if you're standing there and watching things and stuff. The ride is definitely worth going on. I didn't take that into consideration, whether the ride itself was worth it to go on, because most of these rides are worth it to go on or to watch. But I just found that was in a very odd place. And if you're waiting outside, you're just waiting outside, just in like one of those lines that just goes back and forth till you get into the theater.
All right, mine 10, this is where I have Winged Encounters. I put Winged Encounters in number 10 because, again, similar to the Wildlife Express Train, there isn't really a line, if we're being honest, because it's a show. So a lot of the shows don't really have normal queue line or normal queues, simply because you sort of just gather around and then you just go into the show. So again, I ranked it low, but at the same time, though, it's almost as if there is no queue because you just kind of go into the show.
I have different reasons for why mine are in different places,
That's
right?
Okay. All right, what's in your number 9?
Finding Nemo. I found that ride funny because we really never really stayed on a long line for Finding Nemo. Every time we go there, we kind of go through, but it's very dark, very long, very dark, very...
Well, there's a lot of trees in that area.
Yeah. I'm not even talking about outside. I'm talking about inside. When you get inside it, do I have the right... Oh, I have the wrong ride. I'm sorry.
I was going to say the Finding
I'm
Nemo,
sorry.
Big Blue and Beyond.
It's still
is
Finding
the show.
Nemo. Still
you basically just walk into the theater.
Yes. I have it mixed up. I'm sorry. That's my fault. Finding Nemo, yes, because there's really nothing around. It's like it's like the walkway when you're coming from.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's just a walkway.
You're just kind of coming from one walkway to another, right?
And my number 9, this is where I have Kilimanjaro Safari. I think this is one of the worst ride queues there ever is. I do not think it's very good. It's very windy. You are on it for a very long time. Depending upon if the animals are blocking the way on the actual safari itself, you could end up just standing there for forever. Yeah. Meanwhile, because you weave in and out so many times, you end up not even knowing how much further you have to go. Like it is a lot of weaving.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
And we have waited in that line for like 2 hours sometimes. Like it is a very long line. It's very tough. It's fully outdoors. While it is shady because there's a lot of trees, it's still a very hot line. It's very uncomfortable. And it is one of my least favorite queues to stand on, to the point that ride queue is one of the reasons why we started doing Genie Plus. Like literally standing, or now it's called multi-pass lane, but it really was like we waited about 2 hours one day, and about 45 minutes to an hour of that was just us standing because I'm assuming the animals were blocking the way. And so by time we actually got, I mean, like my dad left the line. He was like, I'm just not going on it. He left, he got coffee. And then after he left, like the line picked back up and he was like, I guess I'm going on. And he came back with his little coffee. But that ride is the reason why we started doing Genie Plus. Like that's how bad that queue is. That one probably should have been 12, but because I like the ride, that's why I was like, all right, it's not 12, but it is one of my least favorite ones though. It's not good. Okay, what's in your 8?
My 8 is the Winged Encounters.
Yeah.
The only reason it was up that high is because even though there's no like real queue to get into it, you are right there in Asia, like right near Yak and Yetis and all the little shops and little stands and all the Asian feel. So to me, even though it doesn't have a special queue to do it, I put it that high up because I like being in that area.
No, that makes sense.
What's yours?
And my number 8, this is where I have Navi River Journey. This is another queue that I think is not good. You basically, it's fully outdoors, you are covered, but it's very winding. You basically wind in and out. There is stuff to touch along the way, like there's a lot of, there's like a lot of like that fabric and the leather and stuff like that. That's kind of interesting. But otherwise though, I think it's one of the most terrible queues. We have waited on it before. I didn't like it. I think the ride is fun. I do overall like Navi River Journey, but it's not one of my favorite rides. So, but at the same time though, I think Kilimanjaro Safari's queue is worse than Navi River Journey's queue because again, a very winding one. You kind of just going in and out for a really long time. And yeah, so it's just not a good one. It just takes so long, I feel like, and there's a lot of standing too. And that one's tough because a lot of people will use their Genie Plus or the multi-pass lane for that ride. So you end up standing even longer because so many people are using the multi-pass lane. So okay, what is in your 7?
That's my Navi River.
Navi River.
I called it boring. It's boring. It's most.
It is boring. Yeah, it's
because you're
boring.
in like this walls or on either side of it. And you're just coming and going, and like you said, you're winding around, and you don't know. It's just really boring.
Well, there's no walls. It's all open, and that's the problem. It's similar to Kilimanjaro Safari, where it's like you just don't know where you're going to go.
You don't know where you're going.
So.
You don't know. Well, at one point you do come inside to a certain extent,
that's
before
like
you get on. Yeah. And even when you hit that point, you don't know how close you are to where you're going to go at that point. Then all of a sudden you make that turn and you see that you're getting closer, but very boring. Boring.
In my 7, this is where I have It's Tough to Be a Bug. I put this one more in the middle because I feel like you end up not really, again, you don't really wait as long. It's kind of similar to Winged Encounters and Wildlife Express Train. You don't really wait that long in this ride or for this queue because it's a show. So you kind of, you just go in and then you just go into the show. Now, I do not love It's Tough to Be a Bug. It's not my favorite queue overall or my favorite show overall in a general sense, which is why it's kind of in the middle for me. It's not terrible, but it's not my favorite either. No. But at the same time, though, they are changing It's Tough to Be a Bug to a Zootopia themed show soon.
Yeah, that's gonna make it more popular.
So I'm excited to see what the Zootopia themed show will be. I'm excited to see what the new queue is going to also look like as well, because I'm not really sure. I feel like it's still going to be the same when you're going underground.
I'm sure it's probably some of the shows just going to be
because you're
different.
Still going to be under the Tree of Life. So yeah, I'm curious to see what it's going to be. But overall, It's Tough to Be a Bug. Not one of my favorite shows, but I do think it is a fun show, and I don't really mind that we're going underground. That doesn't really bother me as much. And also it is fully shaded, and because you sort of start to go under the tree, there is some air conditioning when you get in there as well.
Yes,
so it's not the
cooler.
Worst in the world.
Yes,
so.
It is cooler.
All right, what is in your number 6?
Kilimanjaro Safaris. As much as I love that ride and have to go on it every time we're in the park, it is a long one. If it's one of those deals where you're standing for 2 hours, yes, that is horrible. If you're moving, it's not so bad because every once in a while they do have some animals on either side. You feel like you're in the jungle. They have if you haven't seen it 50,000 times, they do have a film about conservation and people from Africa talking and doing whatever once you get up to a certain point. Like I said, the one drawback is that there are times when you can get stuck in there very, very long time.
Yeah, that's one of my least favorite ride queues, honestly. It's a tough one. So that was 6, right? And my 6, this is where I have Festival of the Lion King. So I kind of agree too. I feel like I should have put this one down a little bit lower because I agree in the sense that Festival of the Lion King is very hard sometimes to find the end of the queue because you get there there, there's a big long queue. It moves very quickly because
Yes.
it's a show, so you just kind of get in right when the show starts. But sometimes finding that end of the queue line or end of the ride queue is just difficult.
Even finding the show itself is difficult. It's like it's like off on one of those little alleys that, is off to the side that
Yeah.
if you don't know where you're walking, there's like a couple of different ways to get there, but it's like in the middle of
between
nowhere.
Avatar and it's between Harambe Square is where it is. So, but yeah, but I do think the queue is confusing sometimes, the way that you get onto the queue and how you get into the actual show in itself. We tend to always sneak in the very last minute, so like the queue is almost done by the time you get in. So sometimes even when you get on the queue, they don't know if they can fit you in up until that point because they're just letting you in as the show starts. So we've always made it. Sometimes we're
get
like
it at the
the
end.
last row who makes it. But sometimes if you get on that queue, the queue is still pretty long, and then a lot of people don't make it for the show, and they have to wait another 30 minutes for the next show, or like 40 minutes, however long it is. So yeah, so I would say the queue is kind of a weird one there.
Yeah.
It is fully outdoors. Parts of it are covered. And I want to note too, for all of the shows, because this is the last show, oh no, I still Finding Nemo go. All of the shows, if you are doing the multi-pass lane or like the Genie Plus, you do have to get there like 15 to 20 minutes early before the show starts. They let in the Genie Plus people, or the people like the fast pass type lanes, the lightning lanes, in early. So if you do not get there early, sometimes they will not let you in, even with your lightning lane. You got to be careful
wait
with
till
that.
everybody else goes
Yeah,
in.
you need to make sure that you get there on time for your lightning lane so that you get there. I'm pretty sure the app will tell you that as well when you book your lightning lane for the show. But yeah, but just keep that in mind, and that's how they seat you in the front especially as well. So that is good to know. All right, what is in your number 5?
The Wildlife Express.
Yeah.
The only reason I put it up that high is that I thought, I haven't been on it in a while. We did go on it. I thought it was interesting because it is a real train station, like sort of that real train station feel to get on it. And then when you're riding, you are riding through the foliage and different things that are going on. You're sitting, and as you're riding, you're kind of facing out and seeing all the foliage and stuff. And every once in a while, you go behind some of the animal enclosures and you can see some of the animals and stuff. So that's why I put it kind of up further than some of the other ones.
Yeah, no, that's definitely true. I feel like some of these were really hard to rank because
They
I
were.
don't really have an opinion on them. So no, I find that. Because in my number 5, this is where I have Finding Nemo, The Big Blue and Beyond. And I ranked this one higher than Festival of the Lion King and higher than the other shows. I think it is my highest of all the shows, is simply because the queue is very obvious when you get there, because you're literally just waiting in like the pathway that people are walking between dinosaurs.
That's what I mean, is
and
that
Asia.
pathway that goes between.
And it moves very quickly. The show opens. It's a pretty big theater, so everyone kind of makes it. You walk into the theater. I would say it's not the most popular show in all of Animal Kingdom, so everyone makes it into the theater to watch the show. So I feel like the queue is pretty good, honestly. It is outside, but again, it's so shaded. There are so many trees in that area, and the building of the theater is pretty big. So most of the time, because of the way the sun moves, you're almost always in shade. So it's a very shady area right there.
It is a
which
very
kinda nice.
shady area.
And so I do think the show is cute. We've seen it before, but again, it's not my favorite show. I do think Festival of the Lion King is a better show than Finding Nemo, but I think Finding Nemo does have a better queue than Festival of the Lion King.
Yes.
So that's kind of
Better
why I
queue,
ranked
but
it.
the show, yeah,
For the
Festival of the
queue
Lion
wise,
King is
that's why
definitely
it is
better.
higher than Festival of the Lion King. Okay, what is in your number 4?
Now we get into some decent queues. Dinosaur.
Yeah, Dinosaur.
I found that Dinosaur, when you go in, it's covered. So even if it's hot, cold, rainy, whatever, you're in covered. They have a lot of little items to look at, different species, different science that you can look at. You get into that room, it's very calming. And even as you're standing there, you're looking up, you're looking around, you're looking this. I find that that's very calming. And then you go in and see a show. So for the few minutes that you have to wait anyway, you're seeing something that's entertaining you. So I found that Dinosaur was not a bad queue to wait in.
Yeah, I agree. Dinosaur was also my number 4 as well for a lot of the same reasons. There is a little outdoor portion to it, but then again, it is predominantly inside. They do have a lot of fossils and just things in general about like the Big Bang, so to speak, about dinosaurs as a history, which I do really like and I think is really fun to learn about. I do think the history of dinosaurs is just interesting in a concept.
Yes. And like I said, they give you some of that history.
Yeah, and then when you walk into the big room, they have the whole skeleton of a Tyrannosaurus Rex, which is pretty cool. It is not real. It is plastic, I'm pretty sure.
But
it is really
still
cool to see,
something to
though.
look at.
Yeah, it is really cool to see and really exciting to look at as well. I definitely agree. And again, the pre-show is kind of fun. It kind of sets you up for the ride.
Keeps you entertained.
Even when you leave the pre-show, then you're like in the institute, in the Dino Institute, and you're walking down the steps to get into the queue, and it's very dramatic, right? You're going to go in your time vehicle.
Right.
There's all these pipes and everything around, all these lights that are super
Right.
fun. So, and I remember when I was a kid, I mean, like the ride is, they do say that it is a thrilling and intense ride. So it's not necessarily for children, even though the height restriction is pretty low, but it is an intense ride that's in the dark. But I remember being scared of the ride, but when you get down there, you get off and on at the same point. I remember at one point, my dad was just like, well, those people are getting off and they're fine. So you'll be
You'll
okay
be fine.
too. And in a way that actually helped a lot to think about in that way, that it's like, oh yeah, those people getting off are like fine.
And they're all smiling.
Yeah, they're all completely fine getting off the ride, and now I'm getting on the the ride in the same way. So in that sense, that helped a lot actually. So if you have a kid who may be scared, but you know the kid would be okay going on the ride, like maybe that would help a little bit. Tell them it's like, they're fine, you'll be fine too, type of thing. But it is an intense ride. I say that the ride is changing soon to an Indiana Jones ride. So the dinosaur's going away anyway. Overall, I don't think it's a bad queue, and I do like the ride a lot as well. So I do think it can be worth it. It can be pretty tough too, because a lot of people will use the multi-pass lightning lane for it. So sometimes you are standing there for a while to make the lightning lane. So that can be really tough.
That's on every ride.
Yeah, for sure. But overall, not the worst queue in the world. All right, what's in your number 3?
Avatar, Flight of Passage.
I also had this from my
Oh God, it's uphill. It's long. I'm not really into Avatar. I love going on it because I just think it's amazing. But I'm not an Avatar fan. So the Avatar, all the stuff that they talk about and all the body stuff and all the things and that kind of stuff, it does keep you entertained because you're going from place to place and they're doing different things in different places.
Yeah, there's a lot of rooms. So you start off offside walking up the hill. That's the hardest part.
Oh God,
so
the whole thing is uphill. Even when you're inside, you're going uphill.
Yeah, when you're outside and you're walking up the hill, that's the hardest part. Then you get into the caves, and the caves is really interesting. That's when you think you're getting close, but you're not. There are many small rooms you will go through as part of this queue, and it is difficult. I will say it is hard because you don't know how many rooms are left.
Right.
Even I have been through the queue multiple times. There are bathrooms along this queue. There are water stations along this queue.
Because it's ridiculous.
It's a very long queue, and as my mom said too, a lot of it is uphill, so you're slowly kind of walking uphill. You don't realize how far up you really go when you think about it.
I know, until you come out and have to come all the way down.
All these steps and all these hills. But there's a lot of rooms. You kind of go through like the outside of Pandora. You kind of go through, like the institute type of area of like the studying room. You go through the science rooms. You go through more outdoor areas. It's very interesting. There's a lot to look at. And that's kind of why I ranked it really highly, is because it is a very interesting queue.
It is. It's that's why I ranked it highly too, even though I don't like the queue, because like I said, it's uphill, it's long. And let me tell you, we were on there for like 3 hours one time, and it was just ridiculous. I didn't know what to do with myself. So yes, it is a very good queue because it does keep you entertained, but it is a tough queue. It is a very tough queue. It's a lot of standing, a lot of winding, a lot of standing still, and then uphill. I mean, it's just, it's a lot. The ride is amazing. I love it. I really love going on it. But I got to tell you, lightning lane, I have to. I can't do the regular line anymore.
This is a single pass ride, so you do have to get that single pass lightning lane to go on this ride. But depending upon your time and your body waiting on a long line, it can be worth it. That extra $10.
It's worth it for me if I want to go on
$10 to $20 for sure per person. So definitely depends. But all right, what's in your number 2?
Kali River Rapids.
This is also my number 2.
Okay, because I have not been on Kali River Rapids. I would never go on that. But the queue itself has got so much stuff going on in it. It's like, obviously the last one left is Expedition Everest. That's going to be number 1, obviously, because that was the only one left.
I can't believe our top 4 was the same.
Yes, because Kali River Rapids and Expedition Everest, I can kind of rank them together because they have all that interesting stuff to look at. Like if you were actually going through the wild and you were going on an encampment or going on an excursion or they have all that stuff to look at, all that stuff that gives you an insight into what's going on. So that's why I picked Kali River Rapids. I would never go on Kali River Rapids.
I agree too. This is why I also put it as number 2. There's not as much. So Expedition Everest has the the actual artifacts that the Disney Imagineers who went to the Himalayas, they brought back, and they brought back their research, which is really interesting.
Right.
It's like, I don't know, one small room, I would say, overall, that you walk into Expedition Everest. Most of Expedition Everest is outside, but their outside portion is the same as Kali River Rapids, where they have a lot of, like, it's not all real artifacts, it's a lot of replica type artifacts.
Yes, but it's
something to look at, I would say, overall.
Something to think about, and
Now, the trouble with Kali River Rapids is that the line queue or the ride queue can be very long, and you do weave in and out a lot. You do a lot of weaving.
I'm not really as familiar.
And it's all outdoors. It is, for the most part, completely covered, but it is all outdoors. And I would say overall, they could have more stuff to look at. But I mean, like, there are things to look at, I would say, overall. The other fun thing, part of the queue, is that you can see people on the ride, which is kind of fun. You do see some people on the ride. And I think it's actually after the ride, but they have the little things where you can shoot more water at people. I don't think they work anymore. I guess it depends.
Okay.
I think they should have it before you get on the ride, but anyway.
Get everybody ready.
It is fun. They do have really a lot of interesting Asian artifacts, and there are, again, replicas of Asian artifacts. A lot of things with snakes, a lot of things with like the evil eye type of thing, because you're going on a ride. And the whole idea of Kali River Rapids is like the story behind it, so to speak, is that there was a big forest fire type of thing idea. And that's where the rapids came from, is from like, it's like the product of this big forest fire, this big destruction. And now all these rapids are because of this destruction, and you're going through the rapids, and you kind of see that as you go away. like the smoking trees and things like that.
Right.
And so the ride kind of, or the queue itself does kind of lead up to like in that story. And again, that's why Expedition Everest is my number one though, is because again, a lot of artifacts in there. There's a lot of things where you can toss a little coin, you know, onto the statues. Disney does donate all the money that people toss in the coins, but you can make a wish if you can get the coin to land in like one of like the special spots, so to speak, like in the hands of one of the monkeys or, you know, anything like that. I usually always miss. I have no aim, but I do love seeing all of the packing equipment, you know, that they take to the Himalayas. I love seeing all the flags. I love seeing
it's something
what those
that
little
you're
cabins
always
look
knowing
like.
that people are doing, right?
Yeah, and especially as someone who's not going to go climb the Himalayan mountains ever.
No, the only way I'm
you
going
know?
to see it is there.
Yeah, it's to see these artifacts, to see where did the legend of the Yeti come from. You know,
Right.
it's like they kind of go through that. They have a big, you know, Yeti footprint of things like, you know, this is, you know, what people believe that they saw, you know, when they were in the Himalayan mountains.
Right.
I think it's really fun and really cool.
I don't go on it anymore, but I have been through the queue twice.
Yeah.
So I did know what I was talking about when I was talking about Expedition Everest, because I have been through the queue twice.
Yeah, I almost feel like I would just go onto the queue just to look at that little museum stuff and then just leave just because it's so interesting, you know?
No,
It's like a
definitely.
lot of that stuff you only see on the queue, and sometimes the queue starts moving quickly and you have to pass all this
Pass
cool
it. Yeah,
stuff.
I know, and you can't see
and all
it.
these little plaques that you can't read of like how they research things, or how they
Right.
found things, or
No, a lot of information.
how the equipment is used or something like that. And it is interesting.
Yeah,
It is fun.
thought it was good.
But all right, yeah, that's how we ranked some of the rides and shows in Animal Kingdom. So let us know, how would you rank these rides and shows as well, the queues for them specifically. So again, maybe taking into account the ride, maybe not, but also just thinking of the queue itself. Again, at the end of the day, all queues are hard to wait on. you
Oh,
know?
yes. Nobody wants to
Yeah.
wait online.
Yeah, any ride queue you're waiting on is going to be tough. You're going to feel sad on the inside, if we're being super honest. But at the same time, though, it's like there are some that are a little bit better than others. I do think Expedition Everest, I would say, has the best queue. And I would say I do like the Avatar Flight of Passage. It does have a lot of rooms that you go through, and it does have bathrooms and drink stations along the way as well. That is also convenient too. So, but all right, let's go into some Disney news. We actually have no Disney news this week just because this is such a pre-recorded episode that it didn't really make sense for us to do any Disney news.
Okay.
So no Disney news for this week. So that gives us our Disney birthdays. No Disney birthdays either, but we do
Wow.
have 4 personal
Quiet
birthdays.
week.
On November 4th is my cousin Nick's birthday. On November 6th is my cousin Sean's birthday. On November 7th, it is my cousin Emily's birthday. And on November 10th, it is Emily's son's birthday, Vincent. So
Vincent.
happy birthday
Lots
to
of
all of our
birthdays.
family
Happy
members.
birthday.
All of my cousins, basically. And that leaves us with our final segment of the podcast, which is our Disney memory. So you have a Disney memory.
My
for
Disney
this
memory is
podcast.
Dinosaur. I remember that I had no want to go on Dinosaur years and years ago, and we were with friends. They said they were going to go wait online and go on Dinosaur, so we sent Luke with them. He came off that ride white as a ghost, would never go back on it again. So for many, many years, we did not go on Dinosaur. So that's my memory of the fact that it scared him so much, and I guess he was not their kid, so I guess maybe they weren't as protective as maybe I would have been with him if he was so young. I mean, like you said, they don't have he was the height requirement.
Yeah, like the height requirement
But
is quite low
obviously,
for
if
the
I would
ride,
have,
but it is a scary ride.
yes, if I would have known better, I would have known not to send him, at least not with me or with his father, somebody who could actually say, nope. I mean, I even hide my eyes sometimes when I used to go through there. When the big guys come out, I put my head down. So I think that's what scared him the most. I remember that. I remember saying to myself, I should have never done that. Should have said, no, either you go with us or you don't go. So that was like a memory that popped up when we were talking about all these rides.
No, I remember the first time going on that ride. I was young, but I wasn't super young.
No.
But when we went on it, again, it's almost fully in the dark. The comets are crashing down. The meteors are crashing down. You're at the
Yes.
very end of when the dinosaurs are all about to die. So it's fully in the dark. The things are crashing down.
It's bouncing you around all over the place.
Some of these dinosaurs look pretty scary. Like they're pretty large animatronics. The one that I remember I screamed out loud was at the very end when you're traveling back to, the present, so
the
to
big
speak.
one comes over you.
And this big dinosaur comes out in front of you. You go underneath it basically. But it was huge. And I remember screaming out loud. I was just oh my God, this is wild. But afterwards I was that was actually really fun. When I looked back on it. But in the moment it was very scary. But I do remember my dad did have his arm around me because I was just oh my gosh, this is so intense.
That's what I mean. I think that's when you were talking about Dinosaur just now, and you were talking about how when you said, Daddy said, well, look at those people, they're coming off and they look okay. He didn't have somebody doing that for him.
Yeah, telling him
and
that
I think that was
it's
the
just
mistake.
Pretend, you know, sometimes you do need to be told.
Yes,
it's
it's fun to be scared and it's fun to do all that stuff, but you need somebody there to know that you're with somebody who's taking care of you. And I don't think he had that.
Yeah.
So,
but again, that ride's closing soon anyway.
I know.
So soon dinosaurs
I
going
know it's
away.
going to be gone.
They did say that the Indiana Jones ride is going to be different from the Indiana Jones ride in Disneyland. So I'm curious to see what the Indiana Jones ride we're going to get is.
Hope it's fun.
I'm assuming the track is going to be exactly the same. So
Probably.
just the theme
I just
that
hope
will
it's not too many
change.
bugs or snakes.
Well, that is all Indiana Jones is.
I know.
Is bugs and
I'll send you
snakes.
first, and if there's bugs and snakes, I'm not going.
Well, you can just close your eyes. You'll be fine. No, we're all going on as family together. Just close your eyes if you don't like it.
I hate bugs and snakes. Okay.
I know. I am excited. I kind of wish they would just keep Dinosaur and just add an Indiana Jones ride.
I
think
know.
that would be the most ideal.
I know.
Because I realized they're making it South American themed in that area.
I know.
And so the dinosaur would be like,
Would not fit in.
Make sense.
Yeah. I know. Things have to change. We
feel
don't
like
like change.
I feel like we could expand our reality though to say it's like I understand dinosaurs are not in South America, but it's like, you know what? Maybe it's just its own little separate land that's just next to the South
right next to it. Look, they put the Haunted Mansion next to Liberty Square.
Well, that's part of the theming. Though,
I know.
Liberty Square. Okay. Well, let us know what you think of the dinosaur ride as well as the queues for all of these rides as well. So thanks everyone for listening. Make sure you give us a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or leave a comment down below if you're watching on YouTube. Follow us on social media, Spaceship, or follow us on social media at Almost Amanda X. I will have a dedicated Instagram post for this podcast, so you can let us know how you would rank the ride queues. Which rides are your favorite? Which queues are your least favorite? Which queues are you willing to wait on? Would love to know. So definitely let us know on that Instagram post. But until then, we will see you real soon.
Bye-bye.